It's been over 4 years since the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider movie dropped, and since then we've gotten lots of news about a sequel and even changing director and writer. But now things are looking a little bleak. What's up, my boomers? It's me, Melanie Mac, here on my nerdy commentary channel, Melanie Mac Go Boom. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. So let's go ahead and dive right in to what's going on. Smash Lara, Tomb Raider News Twitter account, has reported that the status of Tomb Raider Obsidian, which was the working title, the proposed sequel to the 2018 film starring Alicia Vikander, is currently unknown. Vikander cited the acquisition of MGM by Amazon for causing uncertainty. The sequel has not been greenlit, but a screenplay has been drafted. Now, we've had news from this movie multiple times, and in January of 2021, mind you, that's when it was announced that Misha Green would write and direct the next Tomb Raider, with Alicia Vikander reprising her role. Now, we've had a lot happen. Obviously, Alicia Vikander recently had a baby, fairly recent. We've had director changes, writer changes, all that sort of thing. Things did seem a lot more promising once Misha Green was announced as writer and director, because the previous director and writer made it clear that they just wanted to continue on, that he just wanted to continue with, well, it's him and his wife duo, I believe, writing and directing. And what they wanted to do was basically continue the stories that we've seen with the rebooted games, which to me, that's one of the weakest things in the entire rebooted franchise, is the stories. So it makes zero sense to actually continue those stories. And the promising thing about Misha Green is when she did make a tweet about being the director and writer for the next movie, she included dual pistol emojis, a dinosaur, all that stuff. She said she listed some of her favorite Tomb Raider, a couple of her favorite Tomb Raider games, Tomb Raider Legend being one of them. She mentioned it as classic, even though technically Tomb Raider Legend is not a classic Tomb Raider title, but it at least aesthetically is closer. So there was some promise there that, hey, maybe we'll actually get dual pistols. Maybe we'll get some dinosaurs and some fantastical creatures and so on and so forth. But I think where things are looking right now is it's looking pretty bleak. Tomb Raider in general, as a franchise, this is a big change going on for them. You'll see in a recent video that I made that Tomb Raider was sold off. Square Enix sold Tomb Raider along with some other IPs from Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal. And so there's probably going to be a lot of changes going on in general with the Tomb Raider franchise. Now, one thing we know that supposedly is still continuing is the Netflix anime series for Tomb Raider, which I think will be the stupidest thing ever. Because what they want to do with the story is basically have Lara Croft going on road trip adventures with Zip and with Jonah from Zip he was in Tomb Raider Chronicles and Tomb Raider Legend and Underworld. And then we've seen Jonah, obviously, in the rebooted trilogy. So basically, it's a BFF road trip adventure, which I have been very vocal about not liking. That just goes against everything Tomb Raider is about. It goes against everything about Lara Croft. Lara Croft is this loner, was created to be this loner adventurer, right? This whole buddy old pal thing has been something that Crystal Dynamics have shoehorned for some reason. I mean, we saw a little bit of it with the original Tomb Raider movie, kind of started that, giving Lara a lot of help, despite the fact that, you know, Lara has received a little help before in the classic games, like we saw with Zip, for example, but it was just a, like, one-off type thing, and it wasn't a normal thing for her. She's always been known to be a very loner type character. Her obsession with adventure just fueled everything in her life. And I've made a video already going off about like the differences between Tomb Raider and what's happened and how Tomb Raider needs to go back to its roots and all that sort of thing. So this whole Netflix thing is going to be stupid. The best part about it is just Haley Atwell voicing Lara Croft, because I think her voice is perfect for Lara. But other than that, I think it will be an absolute abomination to the franchise for me. Now, that said, I've already spoken about where Tomb Raider needs to go in the future if it doesn't want to completely die. If it doesn't want to be DOA, because right now as it stands, people are sick of the reboot stuff. It's not sticking as iconic Tomb Raider. What is classic Tomb Raider. So what we have now is just this odd, discombobulated franchise in general. You already have, even with third-party stuff that they've been doing with appearances with Lara Croft and stuff, you get a mix of, sometimes we'll see classic Lara skins for characters in games like Fortnite and all that, and sometimes we'll see the rebooted Lara. And what makes this so jarring is that they are so drastically different. So now whenever you hear the words Tomb Raider or Lara Croft, you don't know what you're gonna get. Are you gonna get this Katniss Everdeen girl who happens to have the same name as Lara Croft, or are we getting actual Lara Croft? And one thing I will say about the 2018 movie, which I did enjoy it for what it was, it's not perfect, and I think the biggest flaws of the movie have to do with the fact that it did follow the story of the game. It did a better job than the game did for many reasons. Especially with Lara Croft's characterization, but ultimately I feel like the rebooted story, the rebooted everything about Lara Croft and the series in general has really tainted the franchise, and I've already went over a lot of that in the past video that I'm referring to that you can check out. But for that reason, I think what we've got now is sometimes they try to mix the two. You see in the 2018 movie, they kind of mixed classic Lara's personality in with the rebooted story, and it was better, but it still wasn't where it needed to be. It still lacked the fantastical creatures. It still lacked Lara Croft's original motivation of just being obsessed with adventure and the thrill of it all, rather than just following her father's footsteps. Now, they did help redeem Lara in a way by having her surpass him, but still, it just ain't it. It ain't it, dude. And what we're constantly seeing with the recent games and all that is shoehorning companions with Lara, shoehorning this whole family narrative that didn't exist, shoehorning this vulnerable Lara instead of this power fantasy woman. And so now, when you see bits and pieces of third parties trying to do something with Tomb Raider, trying to do something with Lara Croft, and you'll see sometimes they want to really focus on classic Lara, and some of them focus more on reboot Lara, or some of them try to blend the two, then what you get is like this mess. And what I feel like is, if the movie were to come out, and then if whatever next is with the games happens, the new installment, if they do move forward with that, and if they do remasters, and the Netflix story, what you got on your hands is just a giant mess that is not coherent and that doesn't stick. Because if the series continues on with what the Netflix thing is doing and setting up with the whole rebooted stories, the whole friendship adventures, Tomb Raider's gonna die. Nobody wants that except for a very few select small group of people who were fine with where the stories were going. But most people don't want Lara Croft and Tomb Raider to be BFF adventures. Most people want Lara Croft and Tomb Raider to be Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. Which, again, in that last video, I went on about the very definition of that, if you want to check that out. So, for me, what I think needs to happen, let this movie go. Just put it on the back burner, forget you even planned it, because I'd rather see them not do it at all than just continue with the old, played out, rebooted stuff that nobody liked anyway, for the most part, and that was sizzling out fast. Fizzling out fast, I should say. So, let it go. Give the series some time to like reboot itself again. The Netflix thing is gonna happen. It's gonna be a giant trash fire regardless. I don't think there's anything else we can really do at this time about that. But let's watch it flop. Just watch it flop. And once that happens, yeah, refocus. Let Tomb Raider be Tomb Raider again. And until you've got a strong brand identity again, instead of this discombobulated thing, then maybe we can look into a future for, movies again and all that. But as it stands, to me, this being supposedly and seemingly dead in the water is the best thing that could happen for this. So anyway, there you have it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching and hanging out with me today. If you'd like to support my channel, check out the link I have in the description for my subscribe star page. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time. And in the meantime, go boom.